Hey guys, it's Jet888 here. It's August 9th. I'm going to share a video that I did yesterday. That's on 8/8, August 8th there. And I'm going to be adding little bits and pieces as I kind of think of things and add some more information. But the military is having a thing that they call red flag. It's like a red flag operations. And I called yesterday to the Coronado Naval Base, and the guy could just tell me the word red. He didn't know red flag, but that means a warning. And I think that what we're seeing is an accumulation of the years past that's coming to a head now. So I'm just going to share a bunch of what I think is leading up to this. So they've just started up here, and since 11:36, and it's 12 o'clock p.m. right now. So the red flag 23.3 is about uniting the U.S. Armed Forces, and I'll leave the link. So why would you name an operation red flag? That's a little alarming in itself. And also, why would you do your exercises or your operations right over a dense area with a big population? Why would you do that? Is it really bonding all these military branches together? Is it really having them work together? Is there something deeper and more sinister going on? So I'm going to just talk a little bit more about some of the things I've seen. So here we go. Thanks, guys, for watching. But why would they have this article written yesterday when they were doing exercises yesterday? But yet it said that it ran from July 17th to August 4th. That's 8/4. But yesterday they were still doing exercises. So I have a little bit of a feeling that this story was just put out just to kind of throw people off track a little bit. I mean, why would you have a story 4 days after you finish your operations? So real quickly, I'm going to look at a few words here. So red flag, if I look at the Hebrew gematria, it's 123 for 123, but that's also ABC, as in the alphabet agencies, like CIA, the CDC, the FBI, etc. 123 is also God code. I mean, it's the exact same numerology as the red flag. Red flag is also numerically equivalent to the English and simple gematria, as is one of our more recently named events, and that will come a little bit more clear as to why. I don't know what's wrong with my camera. And also looking at red flag, the 233, for some reason they picked that numerology, 233. And pink tie is 233, and I went with the pink tie because it's also equal to 84, which is when they said that they ended the exercises, which is August 4th, which is 8/4. But they didn't, because they're still going on. And because I see Rudy here, who is United States Navy, along with the other border protections here, that's U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They were all the way east here. And pink tide is so close to pink tide. And pink tide is the Latin American countries turning more towards social progressive policies, left-leaning otherwise. So that's a little bit of a concern, because I've seen hats that say, they're like the red MAGA hats that say, "Make America Mexico Again," and that's concerning. And the 84 of pink tie is WWG, where we go all. But that to me is a trap for true patriots to follow that movement. And it's also 5/5 is the 504 and 84, which is associated with pink tie, which I think sounds like pink tide. And I think we've seen enough of the pink tie with the Trump thing going on. And I talk about and bring up Operation Warp Speed later on in this video, but this is just a concern because the whole Operation Warp Speed is working with U.S. Marshal Service as part of a whole of government approach to ensure the security of the vaccine supply chain, including delivery to administration points. And the red flag here, uniting U.S. armed forces. It's kind of like the whole government. Everyone uniting, everyone coming together, which isn't a bad thing unless you're considered the enemy. But the 23-3, I picked that too because the pink tie is 84. And it's also 5-5. 84 is 5-5. And the Air Force just happens to have the 5-5 on the back of that tailplane. They always just throw in little symbols, just like they do in this picture showing the hornet, like hornet, like a trap. And hornet is also Pfizer, Baphomet the Beast. And creator, just like God code of the word red flag. I was getting really dizzy and I stepped outside because I heard this, the helicopter flying overhead, which is that I could just cotton still, and it made me really disoriented, but I actually ended up calling the Coronado Naval Base right here, and I described to him that this Army helicopter was flying overhead, and he said that yes, this is a live shot right now. He said yes, that they are doing a lot of maneuvers right now. They're all coming together, I guess the Army, Navy, and the Marines, and I guess the Coast Guard too. Here's the Navy. Right there's a Boeing Osprey, but I was describing this helicopter. And so this guy, he did confirm that they are all getting together, the three branches or whatever, to do training. And I asked him if they are doing any experiments on people, and he kind of chuckled and laughed and said, we don't do that kind of thing on people. I'm going to interrupt this video again with one more thing. When that guy said that the military doesn't do human experiments, just want to remind everyone here, Intelligent Activity Senate Resolution, this is a hearing. It was way back in September 16th, 17th, and 18th, 1975. And it was a select committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligent activities. And it specifically, this volume 1 was unauthorized storage of toxic agents. So it talks about the agency, specifically the agency is known as the CIA, and they work together with the Army. So I'm just going to read a couple things real quick here. So it says the CIA association with Fort Detrick involved the Special Operations Division, that's the SOD, of that facility. This division was responsible for the developing special applications for biological warfare agents and toxins. Its principal customer was the U.S. Army. So they discussed the Army's chief chemical officer for the performance of certain research and development in the laboratory facilities of the Special Operations Division of the Army Biological Laboratory at Fort Detrick. Looking way down here, this is on page 9. So they maintained a stockpile of temporarily incapacitating and lethal agents in readiness for operational use, assessment, and maintenance of biological and chemical dissemination systems for operational use, adaptation and testing of non-discernible micro-inoculator, a DART device for clandestine and imperceptible inoculation with biological warfare or chemical warfare agents. And that's part of it. They use as shellfish toxin and cobra venom. So it's used for both offensive and defensive biological warfare and chemical warfare. On page 11, it says these involve CIA's effort to keep a close watch on emerging technology, in this case pharmaceutical technology, to ensure that they did not encounter an unanticipated threat from hostile intelligence services. But look at this, pharmaceutical technology. So here's all the mentions of shellfish toxins. Let's just scroll real quickly. Fort Detrick, that's Army. As I'm scrolling through this shellfish toxin, you see here it says the only application of this toxin was the U2 flight. Now I'm going to do a whole nother video on this because I don't want to keep making this so long, but it talks about the U2 flight in May of 1960, and they stated that basically the shellfish toxin was a device that was concealed in a silver dollar. So I want to show you the word silver dollar in gematria. So the word silver dollar is 1079, and so is the word virus is 1079, and silver dollar in both English and simple gematria is 882 and 147, and 882 and 147 is also 888, and it was August 8th, which would be 88, and they were doing the figure 8. So I looked at that also as 888, 888, that the U.S. Army was flying. And I'll be covering this Lockheed U-2 spy plane a lot in another video because it's too long, but it's important. And it has to do with Edwards Air Force Base as well. And remember, it was the Lockheed U-2, which was in flight, and Lockheed Martin. Anagram is Children Meet Okay. And they nicknamed the U-2 as Dragon Lady. And the anagram for Dragon Lady is dry gonadal. So kind of like sterilize the population. And the role of this U-2 flight, it says here, is high altitude reconnaissance aircraft. All this activity that was near the Coronado Naval Base on August 8th. Shellfish toxin. We're still scrolling. And it just keeps going, so I'm not going to bore you with the list, but the mention of shellfish toxin is, you see that? It's a little rampant through this investigation. It's constantly being brought up. And the word cobra venom is also brought up. Anyhow, that's another thing, just going on and on. Crate venom. Now, part of the Senate hearing meeting that I've been reading, part of it, they are talking about the shellfish toxin being used in a DART weapon, and their applications, according to like DARPA and the patents I've seen, they can apply things via aerosol and stuff like that. But here's this DART gun that they're going to show, and I want to show something kind of creepy after this. So for the dramatic effect, they're putting it on the table, and there's the thing of vial of shellfish toxin. So they're going to pick it up and examine it. And while they look through this gun, now this gun can work 100 meters away, and the person won't even know that they got hit by this toxin because it's injected into them, and they won't know what hit them. But watch this guy in the background. Look at this. Look at him flipping those weird V hand signals. Let's see this one more time. Let's watch this guy. What do you think he's doing? Creepy, huh? But a long time ago, they were using technologies that would inject people with, they would freeze the shellfish toxin, would be frozen, and they would inject it into people, and the people wouldn't even know that they've been hit, and they literally would just have a heart attack. So people would look at it as being natural. But with the technologies they have today, with all the electronic weaponry also, they can do other things to people that could incapacitate them. So I'm just showing this, that when that man I spoke to, the public relations man I spoke to at the Coronado facility, the Navy base, saying that they don't do, the military doesn't do experiments on humans, I beg to differ. And here it says this, the chairman, he writes, in the dart itself, when it strikes the target, does the target know that he'd been hit and about to die? And Mr. Colby says that depends, Mr. Chairman, on the particular dart used. There are different kinds of these flatulets that were used in various weapon systems, and a special one was developed which potentially would be able to enter the target without perception. And this is from like basically being injected. And this says here, during World War II, flechettes were dropped from aircraft to attack infantry and were able to pierce helmets. The weapons were designed to be dropped from an aircraft. They contained no explosive charge, but as they fell, they developed significant kinetic energy, making them lethal and able to easily penetrate soft cover, such as jungle canopy, several inches of sand, or light armor. Lazy dog munitions were simple and cheap. They could be dropped in huge numbers in a pass. And as we continue down here, small arms ammunition, it says, the excellent ballistic performance and armor-piercing potential of flechettes have made the development and integrations of this class of munition attractive to small arms manufacturer. A number of attempts have been made, I should say, to flechette firing small arms. Work at Johns Hopkins University in the 1950s led to development of the direct injection anti-personnel chemical biological agent. Isn't that interesting? DIA-CBA. Interesting, when I look at DIA-CBA and look at the anagram, it's aid back, like in build back better, just spelled differently. Build back better. So just a little bit more fun little tidbits of information here regarding the flechette, Johns Hopkins University. This DIA-CBA, just looking at some anagrams, so DABCAI, as D as in D-Day, the top thing here, the General Pernas, Operation Warp Speed, and then down below, CIA DAB. How do you like that? The CIA DAB. And the definition in this dictionary I have for dab, which is bad backwards, but to strike, akin to MD, that would be medical doctor. To strike or touch lightly and quickly, a light, quick blow. In British, it's an expert. Trust the experts. So again, it's called a needle gun. They're also referred to as beehive rounds. You could wipe out the collective in one fell swoop. And this talks about 70 millimeter Hydra 70 rocket currently in service with the USA Armed Forces can be fitted with an anti-personnel, that's APERS, warhead containing 1,179 flechettes, retrieved from Army technology. And they are carried by attack helicopters such as the AH-64 Apache and the AH-1 Cobra. Here's also a picture of some, I guess, already used flechettes. And I wonder what would happen. What if you dip those in shellfish toxin? Each little point just happens to have some shellfish or cobra venom on the tip of it, like a little arrow dart. Anyhow, it just puts another little spin on all of it, doesn't it? And the dab seems to be trending. And to me, that looks like a defensive position. Not really a dance move, as it is defensive. And they both agree. It's a murder instrument that's about as efficient as you can get, is it not? And Mr. Colby says it is a weapon, a very serious weapon. So you have the Army, you have immunizations, you've got experimentation, you've got Fort Detrick. And here on page 72, the President has decided that the United States will confine its military programs for toxins whether produced by bacteriological or other biological methods or by chemical synthesis, to research for defense purposes only. Right, let's defend everyone against a disease, such as to improve techniques of immunization and medical technology. The President has directed destructions of all existing toxic weapons, except for the ones for improved techniques of immunization and medical technology. And there is General Gus Perna, who was part of the Operation Warp Speed. Now he's in the Army, and he delayed his retirement to roll out vaccines and therapeutics to the American population, among the rest of the world, actually. And the effort was dubbed Operation Warp Speed, which I've covered many times before. One last thing on page 16. This here, the chairman says, "Thank you, Mr. Smothers, Mr. Colby, in your testimony, you emphasize that the amount of shellfish toxin, approximately 11 grams, a little more than 11 grams, translated represents about half an ounce." Now, note, they can make this synthetically as well. So, he says a little more than 11 grams, translated represents a half an ounce. I think that since it comes in a small container, we ought to better understand the potency of this particular toxin. Earlier in the week, we had testimony from Carl Duckett of your agency, and he told us that if that amount of shellfish toxin were administered orally, which is one of the least efficient ways for administering it in terms of its lethality, because the body is great at trying to detoxify itself and to protect yourself. He says that quantity was sufficient to kill at least 14,000 people. If it were administered with the sophisticated equipment that was found in the laboratory, that quantity would be sufficient to kill a great many more. Estimates vary upward to the hundreds of thousands. And he asked, now my first question is, why did the agency prepare a shellfish toxin for which there is no particular antidote, which attacks the nervous system and brings on death very quickly? And why did the agency prepare toxins of this character in quantities sufficient to kill many thousands of people? What was the need for that in the first place, long before the presidential order came down to destroy this material? And Mr. Colby basically says he can't explain why that quantity was developed. Okay, so he did say there was definite offensive uses. And he says, while at that time, certainly the CIA was never commissioned or empowered to conduct bacteriological warfare against whole communities and quantities of poison capable of destroying up to hundreds of thousands of lives, it seems to me to be entirely inappropriate for any possible use to which the CIA might have put such poison. But then they also referred to the future and some more medical technology and experimentation. So, okay, I'm going to get back to my regular show. So anyhow, here's the video, and I just wanted to preface this by saying that the disoriented feeling I got was also confirmed by another person, so it wasn't just me, and I was just concerned about it. So I'm going to put this video out, and I don't have all the details now, but I'm just putting it out right now. And this is over the Chula Vista, Sweetwater Valley area, Chula Vista, Bonita, right here, just southeast of the Coronado military base, where they're doing these. He said it started with a red. He couldn't remember the rest of the name, but that they are doing maneuvers, and this is a live on it right now. So anyhow, I'll show you, I'll let you listen to that quick video. So here's the Coast Guard as well. So they're part of it. Rudy here, that's the U.S. Navy. This is up in Miramar. This is the United States Marine Corps. Let's see who they are. A super stallion. Sick or Sky, Sikorsky. So Sick or Sky. And here's the other Navy, but the thing is, and that's a Boeing Osprey. I don't see anymore the Army helicopter that I showed. So here again is the Marine Corps. Here's their location. Anyhow, there's all kinds of military activity, training, exercises going on in this area and north of San Diego in Mira Mesa area. This is the southern coast of California, San Diego area. And it's really concerning to me. And who do you call though, right? You can't really call anyone, but okay, so I'm just gonna add, so I keep adding, but okay, after I called the guy at the military, the PR guy, and he told me about the exercises that they're all doing, and I mentioned about the US Army. Now look, they deleted every track they had. They deleted it and started all over. This is the US Army who did the wild pattern that I'm going to show you. This pattern. So here they are. Started up again. So it's interesting that they deleted and erased everything and everybody, and they're starting completely over, and here they are again right now, and it is August 8th, 12:38 p.m. Here's the timestamp, but why would they delete everything? So I'm even more concerned. So about 3 minutes after I spoke to the PR guy at the Coronado Navy base, all of a sudden all their aircraft is gone except for this Army, and I guess they didn't get the memo, but they're starting again. Okay guys, it's Jet 888 here. There's a helicopter up here. It's August 8th. That's 8-8, and it's up there hovering around. And I just noticed it's really weird. I started feeling super dizzy, so I went outside and heard this helicopter. And I don't know what it's been doing, but let's go look inside. So the wind has really picked up here in San Diego right now. I think that we can see it. I can't see it because it's so bright. I hope I'm catching this. But I'm feeling super disoriented. And hang on. So this is an Army helicopter. And the wind picked up and I'm feeling super dizzy. So I'm gonna go see what they're doing up there. Let's see, I think I can. Gosh, it's just so bright out here. I don't know if I'm capturing this. Okay, so here's that helicopter. Look at that. It's a Eurocopter, and this is creating me to feel super disoriented right now. I don't know what it's doing, but it's making me feel so dizzy. So what are they doing? So they start at 8:54 a.m. Here's their location. 32.66222 latitude, interesting numbers, and longitude 117.05. And they came from San Diego Airport. Interesting. Or aren't they coming from a military airport? And they're flying at 7,425 feet. Now all of a sudden it's off radar right now. It used to be right here, and it's not on radar. That's not it. But they're flying overhead right now. And I don't know what they're doing, but it's creating a huge disorientation right now. There they are again. It popped up again. Let's see. That's them right now. So I wonder what they're doing. That's their flight pattern. It's like doing a figure 8 over everyone here. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but now it's sprinkling in San Diego right after they did those little maneuvers with the military. And the skies are completely gray. You saw earlier, just like half an hour earlier. I'm just showing the little sprinkles on this little bird bath thing. Anyhow, so it's raining, and now it's sprinkling and raining right after the military is having their little maneuvers. And I was told by that PR guy for Coronado Military, the Navy, that they were doing maneuvers, and they were doing an operation with the word, it had the word red in it. He said he couldn't remember. Anyhow, here we are, San Diego in the summer, and it's sprinkling, and it was right after all the military helicopters were overhead. And they erased at 3 minutes after I called the guy in Coronado. Then I looked on my flight tracker, and all of the airplanes and everything were completely erased except for that one Army helicopter that then started over again. So they started a new pattern, like right in the middle of the city, not even starting in an airport. So they deleted all their information 3 minutes after I called the guy and let him know that I was aware of their whatever it was that they were doing. Just to let you know. So just to give our military the benefit of the doubt, I am seeing a pattern along the border here. So maybe they're getting ready for the pink tide that's supposed to be rolling in soon. We'll just take a super quick look at these guys right here. That's U.S. Marine Corps. I actually trust them. A little bit more west of the Marine Corps in Imperial off of 111. Well, that just disappeared, but I knew it was military. This Mastiff 33 on Ocotillo. That again is U.S. Marine Corps. See, they're going up along the coast, or the border. We have the C6021. We saw this one earlier, the U.S. Coast Guard. Doesn't look like they're on the coast though to me. And we've got one overhead right now. You can hear it, maybe you can't, but I can. And here's, oh, this is the one right here overhead. Troy 193. They were here earlier. That's the U.S. Customs Border Protection. That's them right now. Did we already look at this guy? That's interesting. We have a private owner here. He was the same craft that other Black Hawk here. Sikorsky. There's their tail number, registration 1608Q. But that looks like, to me, they're more involved with being over the water. And what I didn't read to you in that earlier document was they were doing a little exercise on poisoning the water system on a multi-story building. And I think I've read that many years ago, but I'll leave you the document too that I'm talking about. So we have a private water owner right over, and of course it looks like Shamu, black and white, right over a reservoir, which I find to be interesting. Loveland Reservoir, which is, they're the ones that feed the Sweetwater Reservoir for the Sweetwater Authority. So that's a tad concerning. And it says they've been flying since 3:01 a.m. So the helicopter belongs to Cormorant Venture LLC, and it's a fractional owner, meaning more than one, from Irvine, California. And part of their classification, racing, market survey, research and development. There's your R&D, experimental. Limited liability company. Look at this in Santa Monica. The Rand Corporation's in Santa Monica too. 11150. Agent name Andrea Forshee. But they're landing right now at Gillespie Field. Again, flying this black and white Cabal Shamu looking kind of contraption under private owner who had some weird interest to fly right over the reservoir. Loveland Reservoir, which feeds into the Sweetwater Authority, the water, that's where they get their water from. So just to put another little comment in here is this black and white that I said looks like Shamu. So Shamu, the numerology is 372 and 62. Same numbers as Kofifi and Mason. And Magdalene. And I just think that's kind of strange because the U-2 spy plane from Lockheed, the nickname was Dragon Lady, which in gematria is 607, as is all-seeing eye. And the same numerology at 606 and 101 as climate change. So that's weird. And Shamu's real name was Tillicum. And their little RIP Tillicum. There you go at 527 is climate hoax, along with some other interesting numerology there. It's also unplug. And I was going to say to everyone, and I'll do another video on it, but I think we should make September 1st a day to unplug completely, because September 1st would be 9/1, which is opposite and backwards of their 19s of everything, which is AI. And I'll explain that later. But consider that, you guys, on September 1st, unplug completely. I wonder if anyone can do it. Are we so mind controlled? Are we so mind controlled that we cannot do without our phones or technology for one day? I wonder. Let's see if we can. If we can't, this is what we are. Absolutely what we are. And if we can't, then they win. And the simple in English gematria equals his name. And I think that that's interesting because when you look at the anagram, that's sort of weird. Spelled wrong and everything. I don't know what Kiil means, but it's weird. And isn't it interesting in the story, Tillicum was abducted from his family pod at 2 years old. He was bred 21 times and 11 of his children died before he did. There's your 11. Your numerology is interesting. And shortly after his release of the Blackfish, that's him, Blackfish, he died after 33 years. So you got your 33, your 11, you're 2 years old. It's interesting. Black and white. And your Tillicum word, let's look at the anagram. IT Killam. And they did this whole black and white ritual about Tillicum. Died at age 35, died at age 12, died at age 10. Isn't that interesting? How sad. And in the Periscope film about Edwards Air Force Base, about the Lockheed, that's Children Meet, okay, Lockheed Martin, the U-2 spy plane, their helicopter is also black and white. When I look at the anagram of Edwards Air Force Base, it's ICDD's Cobra Warfare. That's Department of Defense Cobra Warfare, which is the cobra venom. It can also be OWS, Barefaced Raiders, like Operation Warp Speed, Barefaced Raiders. That's the acquisitions of everything they're going to come and take from everyone. One more anagram and I'll stop because I'm going to do another video on this, but OWS, barricade free, SAD, so Operation Warp Speed, barricade free, so you're not locked up or anything yet, but it's SAD, barricade free SAD, sudden adult death, which we're seeing a lot of and which they kind of showed during this whole Shamu thing. It's just predictive programming. In this article, when they talk about Shamu and focusing on a Shamu-free future, the anagram using the female pronouns, her, us, future, FEMA. Interesting. But that's just my opinion. Going back over to Coronado, over the Navy military base where it all started, is again this guy here. This is United States U.S. Navy. And he flew out here, did those little maneuvers there, and here's one more. This is again U.S. Navy. And who haven't we seen? I think this guy. No, that's the Shamu people. And we've seen the Mastiff, which is the U.S. Marine Corps. Alright, well, anyhow, a lot of activity along the border at night. And then the real concerning one was over our reservoir by the private entity. Okay, so that wraps that up. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. At 88 because today is August 8th, and they did a little 8 sign. So I pretty much watched them throughout the day. There's 8. So here's a fun one. The numerology. And it kind of figures that they would have that. So anyhow, who knows what today was really about. But either way, it was a teeny bit disturbing. But I'm going to have another video out for a proposition I want to share with you guys. So just on a final note, I wanted to look real quickly at this red flag 233. So when I take the 23.3 and convert it to letters, we get red flag BCC. But if I want to look, and there's the numerology, there's your 61, upside down 19 or 91. But so red flag BCC, let's look at the anagram. I see FCC garbled. So here real quick, the Federal Communications Commission, that's FCC, is an independent agency of the United States federal government that regulates communications by radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable across the United States. I think most of us know too that they're also letting the 5G roll out, even with the high band frequencies that are microwaving everybody. The FCC maintains jurisdiction over the areas of broadband access, fair competition, radio frequency use, media responsibility, public safety, and homeland security. And they have also, I think they've taken out the ham operator's ability to just be able to communicate. So that's a real big concern. Interesting here too, they formed June 19, that's 619. That's the San Diego area code, by the way, 619. But I'll say, from everything I know about these people, they're corrupt. They're corrupt as all get up, and they're part of the communications companies that are part of the AT&T and American Towers, which when you look at American Towers anagram, it's new crematoria. So here, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission has given Elon Musk, SpaceX, the go-ahead to build and launch 7,500 of its second-generation Starlink satellites. So yeah, I think it's probably a good idea that they're garbled. The Federal Communications Commission first established rules in 1965. There's your 19, there's your 96, and there's your 5 all together for cable systems which received signals by microwave antennas. That means your environment is completely being microwaved. When you guys get on the cell phone, and if you're by any towers, you're being microwaved. So that's like FCC garbled of a message, sound, or transmission, confused and distorted, unclear. So babble can also be looked at as a word derived from the Hebrew verb balal, meaning to jumble or to confuse your words. It's also a pun in the biblical Tower of Babel, a gigantic whatever whose construction was interrupted when the workers' languages were made mutually unintelligible by God. So Babylon, probably what's going to happen to your brain if the FCC is allowed to continue their satellites and their microwaves. And every time they've rolled out a new technology, all of a sudden there's some kind of pandemic because your body cannot handle the frequencies that it's not used to. They're very unnatural. And there's your eagle, of course. Anyhow, yeah, the FCC needs to be taken down. So however you want to interpret the red flag, BCC, I see it's FCC garbled, and it's also numerology is a good idea. So it's a good idea to garble the FCC? I don't know. However you want to interpret that. Okay, for now. And it's also, let's consider unplugging. If we look at a quick unplug, so that would be September 1st. There's 9/1. Let's go for that. Let's unplug on September 1st. And playing off of the FCC's start date, there's your 616. When did they start? So there's our liberty, though. If we can unplug, let's do it. Okay, they were formed 619, but let's unplug 616. Beat him to the punch. Can we do it? Can we unplug ourselves, you guys? Or are we so mind controlled that we're stuck with the AI and the digital life? Let's unplug. September 1st. All right, be good.